Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing what I can only describe as so-called Farang intuition. For those who are unaware, Farang is a word we use for foreigner here in Thailand, or I should say the Thais use for foreigners here in Thailand, specifically Western foreigners in Thailand. I guess you could say Caucasian, but Western, from the Western countries. So, United States, the Anglosphere or the Commonwealth, and then you've got, Europe. Those, generally speaking, that's a bag of countries that the people that come from there are Farang. So, reason for the video, I've talked to multiple people in the past couple of weeks, and a phenomenon that I hadn't seen really during COVID, and then it's cropped back up, but it was something that was really prevalent prior to COVID. It's this notion, the only description I have for it is this notion of Farang intuition, foreigners intuiting things in Thailand. And this intuition, if you will, is just not based on reality in many cases, or the state of Thai law. For example, this is just one example, and it's anecdotal, but going back, I don't know, a few months ago, someone said to me, I was sitting around with some mutual friends, and somebody who I didn't know very well, but I sort of knew as a friend of a friend, said, oh, all gambling is illegal, but the Army just gets paid off to allow horse racing. And I said, what? No, that's not true at all. There has been legislation in place and there have been protocols in place regarding horse racing going back to the turn of between the 19th and the 20th century. I mean, that was that's existed. There's been jurisprudence there, and it was just another one of these examples of somebody just sort of saying something and believing something apropos of nothing. I don't know where this comes from, but it's a real phenomenon. It's really strange. And I've talked to other expats. I've talked to other folks in other jurisdictions, people I know that live in Korea, for example, people I know that live in Japan. This seems to be a really Thailand sort of centric phenomenon, that foreigners show up here and make a lot of presumptions about the way things work. I'm talking beyond the issue, and this is its own issue of sort of Western entitlement issues out here in Asia. That's its own sort of kettle of fish, if you will. But this phenomenon of just, well, I've got that figured out. And and let me be clear, when I was first here, I was very guilty of it. But there's two manifestations of this that I've found. One is when you are, especially when you're relatively new, you just kind of presume things. Like, it took me a long time, even in a professional context, to extract common law notions of equity, and because they just don't exist in a Thai context. That whole body of jurisprudence, that whole body of law and thinking conceptually, thematic conceptual thinking that has existed essentially since Henry VIII, left the Catholic Church, and the sort of manifestation, ramifications of that going into British common law, which then came down to American common law, and then evolved on its own in American common law. None of that exists in the Thai context. To me, you come by that kind of assumption honestly, for lack of a better term. But there is this, it's a very weird phenomenon among foreigners I've found out here. Well, I just know what's going on. This is how it works in Thailand. Or they've seen something and they think they understand how something works, and then they sort of try to apply the same logic down the road, and it oftentimes meets with less than optimal results. I'll leave it with that. But yeah, it's something that if you're going to come to Thailand to live, you really need to guard against this. Because even when you're doing it inadvertently, like I said, when you sort of come by it honestly, you're just sort of making presumptions based on the way your system, your experience has worked in the past, and it doesn't work that way in Thailand. Okay, fair enough. But folks that have been here a while and are just kind of wandering around intuiting the way they think, things work here, it's really not a good way to interact with the world here in Thailand, because oftentimes they're just dead wrong.